There's no such thing as small, medium, large.
We've got a new 170 coming out.
With big gangly limbs.
Yeah.
Going to create internal structure.
It's flammable, soluble, it's irritation to skin.
Exactly how it comes off the plate. Progressive type of rider.
So Jim, your perfect custom bike would be a 475 reach.
Let me tell you a story. Oh my God.
So this is Mr. Brown, Dan Brown, boss of Atherton Racing. Been a big part of Atherton Racing right from the start. But there's a bit of background with Dan and myself. We used to ride together, didn't we? Yeah. And you are a very modest rider who was pretty handy on a bike. I'm trying to remember like the roots of you and mountain bike. Obviously you've been a racer for years.
Yeah.
And then the sort of first thing I remember of you were working at a shop in Shrewsbury.
They run cycles.
Yeah. And then you started a team. Tell us about that. And you were on it, weren't you?
Yeah, no, well we met through Mid-Shropshire Leaders, didn't we?
Yeah.
The solid scene back in the day, Titley and
all downhill racing.
yeah, Eastridge.
And then you saw, we used to go to races and there was these like youths called the Athertons. And was it...
With big gangly limbs.
Yeah. And you had the foresight to see the two brothers and the sister, and you must have thought, there's a brand there, there's something
Well,
to be
no,
done.
but it really wasn't really kind of that clean cut. I don't think it was. They were under the management of Martin Whiteley at the time.
Yeah.
Rachel was going out with Donnie, and they were after somebody to help them organise their lives and racing. And yeah, that's where it kind of started. It just grew organically from there.
What year did you start Atherton Racing?
Well, they were running, I don't know, well, they've always been racing BMX, so I guess the company formation was 2007 officially, I think, is when the company formed.
Yeah.
And then prior to that, they were just running as a partnership.
And then you, obviously now, fast forward several years after massive success of the race team in enduro, in downhill, you've got world champions, you've got overall world's winners, incredible looking back on it. When did the idea come to you for Bike Brand?
I think like I say, we've always thought about it. The opportunity came, but it was in line with what we were doing here at Dovey.
Yeah.
And that was the big catalyst really. Like we wanted to start a bike park and we wanted to build a awesome kind of scene around the Machynlleth area, and the Bike Brand just kind of would tie it all together, and that's when I think gave us the push in the end.
So looking further forward now to the future, do you have like a big picture of what you see as what is your goal?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, the vision is to make the brand a global brand.
So I think time is now to go and have a look around and see what we've got here.
Yeah, same. Show you around.
Place your numbers in.
Yes.
And then you generate your size, and then this is your perfect custom sizing on the right here. Ignore the additional price, that's changing. And then this is the regular size that you're closest to. So this person has got a recommended of 445, but we do a closest reach match of 450, so that's what we recommend.
Yeah, so my name's Scott and I'm a design engineer here.
Perfect.
So a lot of my job at the moment is kind of the layup of the parts and some of the CAD design stuff as well around the lugs themselves. So yeah, we've been kind of onboarding with the machine really recently. So yeah, just kind of working through how to run the machine ourselves rather than kind of have stuff brought in.
Okay.
So yeah, there's been lots of kind of refinements and stuff through that, and a lot of that is on this program here, which is the Quantum. So this is where we bring all the CAD data into, and then we can lay up the individual parts. So for example, let's go ahead tube. So this is the head tube. You'll see kind of this grade section here is the actual STL kind of CAD data that comes in. But then we have to add these support files. So these parts here are required to allow the build to kind of support itself off the powder and connect it to the plate as well. So you see all these different colour gradings kind of indicate roughly how much support is required for that area. So you see all of this with the support here is kind of overhanging.
So they'll remain on it, and then when it's done, you'll sort of grind them off, or however you do it.
Yeah. So these supports stay on the part, connecting it to the plate. They go off to heat treat, come back, and then we take them off the plate and fettle the supports back. So yeah, each of these parts is individually supported, and then we can drag them in and bring them into a layout here. It's just the print that's going on today. So this whole plate here is about 16 hours, and that uses 4 lasers. So 4 lasers go through each of the parts. So if you were just to print one,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be very efficient because you just have one laser running.
So is that the parts for one bike, or is that the parts for, or have you got a load of head tubes on there?
Yeah, so this is a load of head tubes,
Right.
purely to keep the efficiency of the lasers.
Yeah, I've got you.
And generally, this isn't a very good example to be honest, but generally we'll have everything roughly the same height, and you'll have kind of sets of 4, so that each laser has exactly the same kind of efficiency throughout. But yeah, for this one we're just finishing off the batch, so it's just anything that hasn't been able to squeeze onto a plate. Through the 3D printing we can have all these internal support structures. So you'll see sort of these ribbings and bracings and stuff in here. And this just allows us to, yeah, kind of create internal structures that can give it support as well. Just give it strength.
So we got 22 stock sizes.
22 sizes?
22 stock sizes, yeah. So that's every 10mm increment on reach, and then plus a few different heights when you get to certain kind of transition points.
So there's no such thing as small, medium, large, it's just like
No,
put
no.
your size in and you make it for them?
Yeah, ultimately, and then if someone wants to get really specific, we can print to the millimetre and do them a custom frame as well.
Yeah.
It's more efficient for us at the moment to offer stock size, because we can reuse the data. Once the data's been created, we can just use it again. Whereas with the custom stuff, it takes a little bit longer. So
it's, it must be more cost for a custom
It is,
frame, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Stop casing the joint.
I was just amazed at how the suspension system works.
So we were dealing with titanium dust and carbon fibre, so there's quite a lot of health and safety that the boys have to adhere to when they're working. But it's not fully running, so you can come in.
Okay.
Come on. Yeah.
Here it is. The beast.
Yeah, she's a bit of a beast.
So this is like 300 quid, one of these?
Yeah,
something
a couple
like
hundred
that?
quid, yeah. Should get you one. Second hand, you might
Yeah.
get it a bit cheaper, but... No, so the data comes in from the customer. Scott converts it into a build file, which you've seen upstairs, and then that literally is just sent on over Ethernet straight down to the machine. There's a bit of setup that Will does in terms of getting all the parameters set and all the settings sorted on the machine, and then you just literally press play and go. So. You see it start, that's like the first layer that's gone down, so it layers the powder down, and then the laser comes in and sinters the powder together. And that's basically the first layer here, very first layer. How thick is it, Will?
60 microns, so about half a human head.
No way.
And then you've got roughly 3,500 layers in the, oh, actually these are quite low, aren't they? I don't know how many layers are in this.
About 2,500 of them.
2,500 layers.
I am Will, I am a lead manufacturing engineer at the Atherton Bikes.
So how long would one of those plates take?
Takes about 17 to 18 hours, depending on the height of the build plate, which is the biggest factor of it. But sometimes you get, well, some of smaller builds are 14 to 12 hours long.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you get them, each build, we try to stick as many parts on the plate as much as possible. So obviously that does have a factor on the build time.
Working on processes to make it all quicker. So yeah, we'll some trade secrets.
So as for cost-wise, I'm guessing that this is a much more costly process than making the carbon for the frames, or is it not? Is it just literally buying the machine that's the expensive thing?
No, I mean the material's expensive.
Yeah.
Like we're using grade 23 titanium, so it's a high cost material. But the beauties of it is its strength and the fact that we can build these wall thicknesses like a mil thick and still have we overly designed this bike.
So it's nice and light as well.
It's light and it's so strong, yeah.
So in doing this with all these sort of high-tech materials, I'm imagining health and safety is a massive issue. How much about that do you have to think about when you're doing this?
Well, obviously titanium as a material is flammable, soluble, it's irritation to skin, respiratory system, it's really nasty stuff. So we have to use full respirators, we have to, all the room and all the equipment has to be DECIA and ATEX rated, which is like almost waterproof, so no power, there can be no ignition source. It can't be more than 50 grams airborne in a meter cubed, otherwise it becomes explosive due to the particle size. And then with the machine there's a lot of argon, so obviously you get, like, there has to be oxygen sensors in this room, make sure there's like a good level of oxygen here, otherwise you just asphyxiate and die. What else is there? There's loads of other stuff. Carbon fibre dust, obviously that is really nasty to breathe in, so we have to wear full suits while cutting it, gloves, respirators. Your epoxy resin, need full extraction, need extraction in this room for heat, because it generates so much heat. Obviously it all needs pure assessment, so all the ESOPs have to work and the machine has to be fit for purpose, guarded. You've got category 4 lasers working, so they have to be interlocked as well.
So what about the sides when we're looking at environmental issues with titanium printing? What's it like compared to like a full carbon bike or an aluminium bike?
Well, titanium, what we have, I think if you look at titanium as a material, you obviously will find there's bad environmental aspects in every material. But what we do as using additive manufacturing, we only use exactly what is needed. There's studies out there, there's been studies previously by the bike manufacturers identifying how much waste from a carbon fibre bike there was made, which is in a mould. So we recycle 97% of our powder into the machine and we can just keep running it. The rest of the supports then are, because it's grade 23 titanium alloy, it's quite used in aerospace, so it can just be recycled. All our parts, anything titanium is all recycled and can just be put back into the loop of additive manufacturing. And then our oversized powder then potentially is going to go to other people who use larger size particle titanium than ourselves. But overall, we are looking at, bringing the titanium powder production. There's people in the UK who do it, so potentially looking at that as well to bring that in to reduce carbon footprint from importing it from other countries.
Dan, aka Affy, what's your input been into the geometry and everything with these bikes?
Yeah, actually quite a lot, I think like with the race team and the bike park and kind of everything we do is we just kind of try and do it to what we would want, really, so we're trying to build bikes that we want to ride ultimately, and we've got a new 170 coming out, which is basically kind of my signature bike almost, which was or is a bike that kind of I could ride enduro on, I could ride the bike park on, but it's pretty aggressive, low bottom bracket, pretty slack head on, so it can go downhill well, but with that DW6 platform, it still pedals pretty well as well.
So that's like an uphill platform. You can ride it uphill, but it's still like a park bike. You can ride downhill.
Yeah, it's amazing how well it pedals uphill, really.
Yeah.
And 170mm on the back, 180 on the front, and that'll be a mullet as well. So yeah.
And what's your input in this place compared to your input at the park? What would you say, sort of, you know, like a percentage? Would you say you're at the park like 70% of the time, or?
Well, with the sawmill, that kind of dragged me away. So I was like, you know, sawmill and bike park pretty much took all my time. But now with the bike company, you know, I'm trying to be more in the bike company than. The bike park's good now, you know, it's starting to get to a point where it's starting to run itself, and so I'm way more hands-on with like new builds, and that we've got an amazing dig crew, you know, the Devon boys and the Shred Mansion boys are flat out, you know.
Yeah,
so
they're legends.
Yeah, it's good, the bike park. Yeah, it's coming on strong.
And then you've got the perfect place to test the bikes out, basically, haven't you?
Yeah, well, when we started thinking about a bike company, you know, years and years ago, we kind of thought, you know, it makes sense to have a bike park first, just so, you know, like for me, I think the car park of any bike park is kind of where you really see what people want to ride and where you really see what works in the industry. You know, it's, you know, you walk around the car park at the weekend and you can just see what people are riding, what people want to ride, what people are buying, and I think that feeds back to the bike company so well.
That's how a plate comes out. I mean, we've got enough space on here to do more than one full bike per plate, but that's not kind of how we do it at the moment. We're doing it grouped together, like Scott was mentioning upstairs, just for laser efficiency. So this goes away, it gets heat treated, and it comes back to us after a week. We basically knock it off the plate using a variety of dangerous tools.
Air chisel.
Yeah, so a variety of tools.
What I can name. Head tube.
So that's one. Exactly how it comes off the plate. So the air chisel, the big support's off, and then they work it to this kind of state. So that's been through the shot blast at that point, I think. So it's smoothed off, then through the shot blaster, and then the final step is, it's not a very well polished one, but a polished head tube, and also machined.
So what have you got doing the machining in there?
We send that away at the moment, but that eventually we'll bring it in-house, one thing at a time. But yeah, that's this process takes quite a while. It's I think I have to ask Will exactly what we're down to at the moment. There's a lot of hand labour that goes into this, a lot of kind of craftsmanship.
So that's something that, as you advance, will be, you know, you'll be cutting times on everything.
Yeah, we'll definitely speed up. Like, I mean, this bit of kit here, this is the Linisher. So this is new. We've only had that a month or so, but that's saved 3 hours, I think, off the whole post-process and techniques. So yeah.
So have you got a set amount of time for each frame at the moment? Do you know how long each frame takes?
Yeah, we've got it dialed in terms of the time. We're kind of like thinking more about what it's going to be like when we're selling more volume. Kind of all eyes are on that really, rather than kind of worrying what we're doing now, because what we're doing now, which is between 2 and 5 frames a week, is very different to what we want to be doing. So this is the bonding room. So the lugs have come back from machining. They've got all their critical kind of parts all machined and tolerance to a real tight tolerance, and yeah, they come back here and they get bonded. So we clean the lugs with an ultrasonic cleaner, get them super clean, so we know there's no contaminants anywhere near. This room itself is kept super clean, so that there's no chance of any contamination. Tubes get cut next door. So the carbon tubing we currently import from New Zealand, from a company that make US Cup yacht mass, so really high top quality carbon. It comes on a roll, as in a length, and then we cut it to the individual measurements here. And then it's just a matter of bonding. So the bonding process takes about 3 to 4 hours in total for a complete frame, and that's it's quite a not a tricky job, but it's definitely a skilled job. So we've got two people that build them here at the moment, Oscar and Ed, and Oscar's made over 70 frames. I think Ed's on his kind of
10th at the moment, so he's kind of coming on strong. And yeah, we bond it using a 2-part epoxy resin, and that's super strong, like literally strong enough to for a train to kind of pull. I think you can hang a small car basically from this adhesive joint, so it's a really strong joint. And we use a double lap shear joint as well, so it stops any shear forces happening, so you can't peel, the head tube can't peel out.
So what's the strength like of these bikes compared to, say, a full carbon other manufacturer, or a full alloy, or a carbon alloy, or even steel?
Well, obviously we've ridden for Athertons, have ridden for various brands over the years, and we've never ridden anything as strong.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I can say, really. But we're really confident. I mean, the peak stresses and forces of a mountain bike is exactly where we're using the AM technology to its full advantage. Literally we can place single grains of powder and put them exactly where we want them, and that's with the backup of FEA analysis, where we see where the peak forces and the stresses are. That's what governs and designs the product ultimately.
I guess, and also it's not all just about strength. Your advantage is it's sort of strength to weight as well.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's not. I mean,
you could get a steel bike that weighs like 40 odd pounds. It's going to be really strong, but it weighs 40 odd pounds.
Yeah, totally. I mean that's why we're using carbon fibre on the tubing, really, because that's the optimum tubing for keeping the weight down. And the way that we've designed the layups on those tubes means that they're as strong as they can be, as carbon can be. Obviously, carbon has its downsides at times in terms of impact damage, and you can't get away from that, but it's the way we have it designed is as good as it can be for the
Did you ever consider titanium tubes as well?
Yeah, titanium tubes were considered. I think there's a cost kind of
a bit more flexy as well, would you say, or not?
Yeah, I'm not really the right person to answer that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know that all tubes were considered in the initial phase, and it's carbon without doubt is the best cost, weight, stroke, strength, kind of
Bang for buck.
Bang for buck.
So after looking at the bike, I said to Dan, I think the only thing I would have on one of these bikes, if I had one, is some sort of protection on the carbon on the down tube. And lo and behold, look what we have here.
Yeah, so this is a prototype, but it's pretty much finished now. Just putting the order in, so that'll go there. And
Lovely.
Just rock strikes, minimise the damage as much as we can.
76 projects by any chance?
This is, yeah,
we work with them. Very nice. The linkage.
Yes, this is a DW6 linkage. Dave Weigel, who is a shareholder and active engineer with part of the team.
Fantastic history and bikes.
Oh yeah, I mean we've known Dave for years, coming back to I don't know, 2006, 2007 when he was working with V13. And yeah, it's been good to work with him on a professional level again. The linkage is allows us to move a lot of the parts on the rear end and adjust the kinematic without having a kind of detrimental effect to the major pivots. But it's an awesome linkage. It's definitely more for the progressive type of rider. It's great for anyone, but it holds you up great in the mid-stroke and really firms up towards the end as well, but still active with it. So yeah, it's been designed ultimately around the downhill bike to start with G kind of leading that as we were going into the first year of World Cups, and then kind of transferred onto the trail bike, and then we've got a few more coming very shortly.
And how often are you in communications with Dave Weigel?
Yeah, the team's on a weekly call with Dave, so yeah, he's an active part and looking at stuff further down the line as well, which is exciting.
My name's Tom and I do all the sales stuff pretty much, so if you want to buy a bike you get in touch with me,
Right.
and we'll get you going. I'll be at a lot of events too, so we bang any measurements and you click generate and it comes up with this would be your perfect custom sizing. So Jim, your perfect custom bike would be a 475 reach,
Right, okay.
then a 411 seat tube length, but I mean we recommend you a standard size, which would be the 480 low, so you're in you're in our percentage window of what we think would you'd be fine on a standard size pretty much. So that 480 low would be perfect. That's what we got for you downstairs as well. So hit right in. Colour or we do the raw titanium lugs. And, depending on what the customer wants. We do like different particle size. So if it was a raw tie, because that's to look better and it's a better finish, we use like a finer particle, so it's much smoother. Whereas if it's like a black painted one, because the paint needs to stick better to it and stay strong, we use like a coarser material to shot blast it with. So it's a bit more rougher and the paint sticks much nicer to it and it's more solid.
So we've had a little sit on this bike. This is G's here, who obviously isn't riding it right now. And yeah, he's set up pretty good with his weight. He's a lot taller than me, but not as fat. So yeah, probably a similar weight to me. And there she is with the special trick stuff brakes. Love those. So that's it from Atherton Bikes. Really fascinating to come here and see this super high-tech technology as Todd and I leave for Dovey Bike Park with 2 of these enduro bikes. This is going to be super exciting to get aboard these and see exactly how they ride. But that I'm saving for the next episode, which you can watch in a few days. So for now, check links in the description. I will add Atherton Bikes in there so you can have a look at their website, and then you got our merchandise and all the other stuff. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Keep it pinned.